Hello, this video is not sponsored. This is the Lumibricks Gas Station. It comes with 1,608 pieces, and I paid a little less than $75 US for it, but the regular retail price is $95. It's just that Lumibricks always has, well, not always, but very, very frequently has sales, especially when a product comes out and is new. This is intended to be set in the 1960s, probably the very early 1960s, and it's compatible in its style with the motel set that they did previously. That was very well received. As usual, you're going to be seeing a bunch of lights around here and lots of prints, lots and lots and lots of prints, possibly even more than is necessary. I think they do definitely like to be generous with the decorations. And on this one, I think they did a pretty good job. On some of them, the typefaces or the choices of wording are a little bit suspect, a little bit off, a little bit weird. Feel like they've been translated through Google Translate a couple times back and forth. But if I get this, there we go. And this time around, everything feels pretty comfortable. The size is a bit more significant than I thought from the pictures. I did not realize that it's a full 32 by 32, so the size of a full base plate in its base, the amount of space that it takes up in total, and it is built on a single plate with no additional buildup beyond that, other than the tiling that goes across the top of it. Yes, many things open up, and right now I am powering it by, as usual, just an external USB battery box, just because it's very convenient. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can do it this way as well. The adapter is included. They also include just a AAA based battery box, which I'll show you later on for, just more simple and solo use and less frequent use. But you're going to want to get more power than that, I think, because you're probably going to have the lights on all the time. Once you get this, they're very good. What they did for the sign on top is different than usual. So rather than having this sort of setup like they did over here with just a stud that has a LED built into it, instead, the lighting for this comes from over here. Look at that. So these are actually 1 by 2 by 1 curved pieces that have the lights integrated into them. That also shines some light towards the front, although there's additional light underneath the canopy here. And then these globes on top, they're supposed to represent the glass globes. These took a while to actually put together because all of that is run, all of the wires are run all the way through this entire thing, all the way down into the plate, into the base of this, and then through the tiles. So they actually did a very good job this time. Something that I've complained about with Lumibricks in the past is that oftentimes they will have visible wires, and sometimes they will use techniques that pinch the wires, even though they have parts that allow you to not pinch wires. Here, they've actually used their exclusive part inventory that they came up with, their own designs, to route all the wires without them being pinched. As far as I can tell, they're not pinched anywhere in this. So you can just barely see a little bit of wire right here, and then all this gets routed through. It's a very nice setup, similar to what they've done over here. I think this might even be more impressive because you're going through Technic style pins, you're going through open studs, you're going through some tubes, like sliced open tubes with the side of it split down the middle. All the wiring is going through all of that, and you only see wiring just right up here, right at the top. That's where it emerges. So you can see it comes from over on this side. I wish it was done on this side instead, but it comes from over here. It's nicely, neat and carefully controlled, the wire is, and the amount of wire that was included felt just right. You can also angle this because it's on a ball joint right there, but all the wiring is inside here, and then it just goes through the plate. You can see just a little bit pop up over here as well. This door is the one thing that I thought was not good about the whole set, and I wasn't able to figure out exactly what it is. I think it's just one of these hinges is a little bit stiff. It actually creaks a little bit, the parts, just because it's the same type of material on both the up and down sections of those half and half hinges. And yeah, I think they should have used 2 materials for that, but I think one of them just isn't lining up quite right. So you see just a little bit of gap right there. It's a small thing, but I did want to point it out. Over here, you get a little bit of access to see some of the interior, including some of the details with some of the tools. And coming down to ground level, you can see there's a car lift in there, just a basic car lift, and that is able to actually go up and down. So you can put a car on it, lift it up, and keep it in that pose. Lots more tools and things over here on the side. Some nice recolors that I have not seen before personally. Additional, just a little bit of additional kind of greebling and texturing up on the wall with parts that feel appropriate to me. You got a print over here. There are more tools up above as well. Access to the top through this ladder over here, just a basic ladder. And you can also open these rear doors to see in from around the back for the sake of convenience. Here you can see just a little bit to the inside. So this is where the battery box, the AAA battery box would normally be attached. And unfortunately, the way this is set up, you do see just a little bit of gap on the top. Now I could shift that all the way up, but then I'm going to see a bunch of gap down on the bottom, which it's kind of a 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Neither works out great. I should have pulled this here instead of this, because this does another thing. So all of this opens up to give you access to the inside of the convenience shop, one way to see inside the convenience shop. And that has nice aisles in it with lots of detail. A little cash register over there. We'll look at this from some different angles as well. But it's nice to be able to see things just like this in place. I do wish that the refrigerator over here had 2 doors. It only has one that slides back and forth. Wish it had 2 so it could feel like it was closing up all the way. But this is the typical thing that they do frequently these days. They let you slide the whole interior out. Now you can look at it from any angle and you can put a figure right there. Unfortunately, they don't give you spots to put figures all the way around, but you can have the attendant right here, and then you can have 1 or 2 figures over here on the side. The aisle here down the middle is a little bit thin, obviously, but I think if you turned the handles of the 2 mugs down there, you might be able to put a figure in sideways. But again, nice details, probably more than there needs to be. Not a whole lot of prints in this part. And there's just a cleaner look at the other wall from down here. Now, around the outside, since we got over to the convenience store, just kind of came at it in a roundabout way. Print up here, print for the sign over here. This is a beautiful print for the door. I love that. I mean, that is just right. That is totally what I remember. In my area, we had what was called Grand Auto. Back in the day, I mean, that was many corporate mergers and brand purchases ago, and that's exactly what I used to see as a kid. Now, I wasn't a kid in the '60s, but it was in the '80s. And Motor Oil over here has the print on it, and then you've got a floor jack that you actually build up, which is nice. And there's a hand truck back here as well. And then just looking at these one more time, just a little bit more closely, just to cover this, you do have the print here for the little indicator. On the other side, no print, so they did not fill that in. It was an area where I think could have used an additional print around the other side, but each of these is intended to be used from one side. You could turn one of these around though. Okay, now for the big test, getting access to the interior from the top. I'm actually going to go with the garage area first. They use these parts that allow the lighting that's going through, the electronics that are going through the wall up into the ceiling to power, for example, this light right here. They've got these parts which allow you to disconnect without removing any wires. Now, normally, from what I've encountered in the past, these will hold on, the plastic parts will hold together too strongly. In this case, there's not really an easy way to do it the wrong way. The wrong way, from just my own experience, is either sideways or from the side that has that part on it. As long as you lift it from the opposite side over here. There it goes. That's the big test. It just got stuck. See, right down in there, those 2 gray pieces, one of them was supposed to stay attached to the roof when I lifted this. So I just wasn't careful enough. I thought I was doing it right there, but I wasn't careful enough. And that's a problem that I've had with most of their sets to date. Let me do it a little bit more carefully this time, the way you're supposed to, or the way that I've learned that you're supposed to, which is that way. So keep a little bit of pressure down here, lift from this side, and it should break free. There's just too much. Yeah, there we go. Nope, it still didn't do it. There's not quite enough room for that, I guess, to lift up properly. There's just too much clutch power. There's too much friction in static friction in those pieces. So I can actually get a fingernail under there and manually separate them, but you should not have to do this, right? That should be carefree. You shouldn't have to worry about that. But underneath here, you can see that's the light that's being powered. So they send electricity up through this. It just has some little contact prongs right here, which are actually spring loaded. It's convenient. They just need to remove some of the material from either this piece or this piece here. What I've found is that if you just take an X-Acto knife, cut off just a little bit of each of these studs, problem goes away, but they do need to fix that. And now for this area over here, this is a little bit different because yes, you are able to separate it out. I forgot where the connection was. This one actually separated okay, but there's this additional connection over here. So in that particular case, it loosened up, but sometimes I've found that this will come with it. Sometimes it'll separate down here. So that's just not quite as consistent. It's not a big deal, but just something to look out for, that it is attached at one point. So here's the light, the main light that's used for the drive-in bay, the main driveway in the front. And this is the main light that's used for the interior of the convenience store. And these are diffused and they work really well. They throw a lot of light, and obviously the light quality is pretty appropriate. It's a little bit warm. So here's what the convenience store actually looks like in its full form, as viewed from above, without opening up the rear, without removing anything from here. Some of these motor oil cans actually have prints on them, and there are two different grades. There's like a regular grade and a more premium grade of them. So just more little hidden prints back there that are difficult to see after everything is done. And then this is the garage as viewed from the top when everything is closed up and everything is together. So you see the overall size and the general configuration of it. And the lift, the way that the lift works is via a little thing over here on the side. So this actually gets pulled out. And when you pull that out, it just has a little wedge there. So it goes up, see, or it comes down. I'll go ahead and roll the car back in there, going reverse first, just because it looks better with the nose out towards the front. And then when I push this in, it goes up and it locks in place. It's tight. It's tight quarters in there, but it does work. You see, it's slightly angled off to the side. It's bending. Oops, that was my bad right there. It's bending slightly, but I think it does its job well enough. The only thing that kind of disappointed me here is that there is no roll-up garage door. I love roll-up garage doors. There's actually no garage door at all. There's nothing to close this up. So when the shop is closed, the station is closed, this is going to stay open. Taking a quick look at the car, I kind of debated whether to share what I feel this is inspired by or what comes to mind first when I look at this, but I decided not to, because usually it just encourages a lot of people to tell me that I'm wrong, even when I actually get it really, really, really right and have photos to support that. So I'm just going to leave it up to y'all. Let me know in the comments, if you would like to, what you think that this is most closely related to, what it looks like the most. I think that it looks pretty good with one exception. There's one feature that I don't like, which is right here, just at the base of the windshield. That one extra plate of height really, really throws off the whole thing. Also, from some angles, you can see this gap right here. I think from most angles, you don't really see that angle. I think the tires and wheels are actually pretty appropriate size. We always... I think nowadays we forget how small wheels and tires used to be relative to vehicles. Even not that long ago. Nowadays, things are like almost twice as large as they once were. Overall, I think this looks pretty nice. I think it's a nice attempt to make something very period appropriate and custom. It doesn't follow an existing predetermined template. But I personally really believe that this right here is the thing that hurts it the most. It's not that big of a deal, but if that was fixed, I think a lot of people would like it better. I like the white colored wheel. That's nice. And it just has room for one single person to sit in the bench seat. Really quickly, with the lights turned on, you can see that they illuminate just the outer headlights. There's nothing going on for the tails. I did hook this up to my USB battery pack, but this is intended to use a couple of button cell batteries. I just don't do that anymore. At least I'm trying not to do that anymore, because it's really annoying to go through all that just to hook this up for a couple of seconds in the video. Unfortunately, though, I do need to point out that they don't include this little adapter piece. So this is just from my own collection. That's most needed to adapt it, to connect it to the rest of the system. So if you want to have the cars permanently powered or, be able to turn on with everything else, you're going to have to get an adapter like that, possibly from another set or something. This one I had as a spare from a set, but yeah, they really should have included one of these, specifically the female to female connector for folks who don't want to use the batteries, which themselves don't last that long anyway. They're small. This motorcycle is also included. It uses a familiar looking basic set of molds, but then they add a few parts onto it to give it a little bit of additional class and style with the large exhaust runs and then giving it a little bit of different color for the seat. But otherwise, it's fairly standard fare, not a whole lot of pieces, no lights here. I should point out that their figures look weird on their bikes and are not able to hold on to the handlebars as far as I can tell. Oh, and that's a kickstand. Here's a quick look at the included 3 figures. If you say you like these, people will say they hate them. If you say you hate them, or people in general hate them, people will say they like them. It's a whole contentious thing, but we do know for certain that no company is able to use this design that everybody wants because this is trademarked. It is fully protected, so other companies to legally release figures have to do their own designs that are very, very legally distinct in every way. The one thing that's common here is that the head pieces, the head gear pieces, so the hairs here, are compatible. These are fully articulated. The legs are independently articulated. You can actually make the waist twist a little bit. The hands are able to rotate. You do have to put these together. Some people have trouble with that. I have not to date. Other included things I haven't shown you are the brick separator. They give you some tweezers with a nice round end for safely routing some of the wires around. This is the small Phillips head screwdriver for opening the battery boxes. That's for safety regulations. And this is the battery box that uses 3 AAA batteries in it that you can attach to the back of the thing. They also give you some extra tools. These do come on these sprues or runners or trees or whatever you want to call them. You just kind of twist them to get them to come off. And here are the rest of the leftover pieces that I had. This was the part that was used to hold together some of the sign pieces. So they actually do some pre-assembly before printing them to make sure that multiple parts that are adjacent to one another will have their print segments aligned properly. Some of these pieces don't feel like they should be spares, but various companies do various things with their spares and sometimes give you extras. Thankfully, this company gives you usually some extras generously of their specialized parts that are specifically designed to allow wires to go through without being pinched. Different channel pieces. These here even have the stud on the top and the bottom, which is a wonderful direction changer. And then this is an anti-stud on the top and the bottom. Again, this has 1,608 pieces. I paid under $75 US for it, but the regular retail price is $95. So we got to look at that $95 price. Does this feel like it's worth $95 in 2025? By current standards, I would say it's definitely competitive, especially with all the electronics and everything. If it didn't have all the electronics, might be pushing it a bit. With the electronics, yes, I'm there. But $75 is a much, much better price. This did sell out pretty quickly. When it first came out, there was a lot of demand for it, but it looks like they're catching up with demand. I typically am going to say, wait. Usually just wait, because they do sale so frequently and they do deep discounts, like not 5-10%, but 20-25%, sometimes more than that. So I think it's at like $80. This feels great. At $95, it feels fine, but bring it down and it starts to feel really, really good for the amount of stuff that's here. They still need to work on those parts that don't separate properly between the roof and the, or between levels, I should say. Otherwise, they don't have that many quirks, that many things that are going wrong anymore. They've fixed so many of their design issues. They listen to customer feedback. They watch reviews, and they make their products better over time. So the way that the wires are run with no pinching, mostly hidden away, is really, really high class and definitely advanced from the way that they started not too long ago. Overall, I'm happy with this. I think it looks great. Definitely fits the theme properly, the era. Nothing feels or looks too wonky about it from a design perspective. Went together well. I guess the thing from a design perspective, the thing that I liked the least is just that there's a wobble here just because of the parts that are used to connect this to allow the wire to go through. It's just not solid. There's some flexible parts in there. So this can wobble when you move it, or if you kind of knock the whatever surface it's on. That's the worst thing. It's not going to break off unless you really knock it over. But yeah, otherwise I love the color scheme a lot. And I just want more. Always want more from these folks. Oh yeah, this not closing up. I mean, actually, yeah, it's just that tiny little bit. It's like 2 millimeters. Yeah, that's it. A little bit nitpicking there, but I think it's worth nitpicking. Right? I should call out anything that I like and anything that I don't like. If you do like this or any of the sets that you see me review here, you could help me to continue to do more independent review content by hitting one of the affiliate links in the video description. What happens there? Nothing happens for you other than it's one extra click for you. It doesn't change the price or anything, but I might get a small referral commission back, which then I just flip around and use to buy more sets to give you more reviews. Zero pressure though. Do not buy something you don't want to on my accord. It's just an if, totally an if. And if you don't do that, it's fine as well. I just hope that I'm bringing you value with these videos, and I thank you for your support for being here. Bye for now.